Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Four Beardsmen of the Apocalypse. It is Sunday, February 28th, last day of the month, and we're closing it out on my channel. Thank you for joining us to see a whole bunch of excellent people there in the chat. I'm JL, and it's with me, as always, our PhD Tony, the man, and, of course, Johnny O. How are you two doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, PhD Tony?
I am extremely well, thank you.
Excellent.
See, that was very professional. We couldn't get that right the other day.
That's true.
And of course, he recently just hit 4,000 subscribers and suddenly is unavailable to hang out with us. So we have our placeholder image for Irish Demon, which I think sums him up pretty well. I'm glad I picked that one.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Irish, well, he is expected to make an appearance if his internet comes back. So we're waiting on that. We'll see what happens. And by internet, I guess we're waiting to see if the ice cream truck takes off.
I think it was someone in the chat. I think it was Clive Wells who said apparently there was a report of a burger truck that went down, and he went to go investigate. He may be gone for a while.
He might be gone for the rest of the year.
Oh, it looks like we have some amazing people in the chat. Let's check out who we've got. Daryl M was first, although I see that Kevin Paul was in the chat. He just didn't say he was first yet. But that's the name of the game. You got to type it in. So Daryl M was first. Yeah, Thor Rasmussen, good to see you. Kevin Paul. And dang, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And then Clive Wells, good to see you. Crafty doesn't hate Johnny O. I don't think Crafty hates Johnny O.
She wouldn't say hi to me earlier. She was being very mean.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Nothing. I said hello, Crafty. It's probably the joke that I made about her birthday, to be honest. She said she wasn't going to tell anybody the date because she says her birthday's in March. And she says, I'm not telling anybody the date. I said, well, obviously then it's March 17th.
All right. Fohammer 335 is in the house. Yes, we will get this party started. I like those nicknames. Johnny O-Face, Ghost in the Machine, Irish Eater, and PhD Smarty. I like that. Corsi, Husky, good to see you. Always great to see him. And yeah, it's you guys, PhD Tony, Plot Hole. What else do we have here? Catpaw, excellent to see you. Web Bard. Basic Trigonometry, sexiest name on the internet.
See, Fohammer says Crafty despises Johnny O.
Ooh, big words.
Oh, there's the Irish. He says
In the chat.
bonjour. Yeah, he says bonjour, fuckers. I don't have much internet minutes left. Broadband is down. What do you mean internet minutes?
I think he's running off his phone.
Uh-huh.
Well, he may have minutes on his phone.
Right. What kind of loser has minutes on their phone?
I honestly don't know. Definitely not someone with 4,000 subscribers.
I mean, that's all I'm saying. Get your unlimited plan together. What are you doing?
All right. Let's see.
Tony, are you guys not allowed to have unlimited internet on your telephones over there in the Australia?
Certainly my provider doesn't, but my provider's kind of cheap. So yeah. But I don't pay that much for phone internet, so I don't know.
And Dave N, good to see you. Mr. Steve. Monkey in the works. Maximal's personal profile. See you, Theo Fungi. Thank you for tripping over myself this morning. Thank you for stopping by. Bat Bible? Bat Bible?
Bat Bible?
Bat Bible? Well, it's all one word. And Jessica G is in the house, so beware. Watch yourself. There will be blowback.
Did you mention Daryl M?
Yeah, I did mention Daryl M.
Okay. All right. I missed it then.
And, of course, Armageddon's Fire, J-Rylander, Surf. Man, everybody's popping by. I'm feeling kind of fucking special today. Feel like I'm on PhD Tony's channel. Trude Hell. Oh, a bunch of new names. Thank you, everybody. If this is your first time stopping by and checking out the Four Beardsmen of the Apocalypse, we do appreciate it very, very much.
Who's this?
Let me see. New to me. That was a Trude Hell. Says hello from Norway.
Yeah, I don't recognize that name.
Very nice.
Like I say, I spent a week in Trondheim once.
And that looks like to be about it. We'll see if anybody new pops by. We'll say hi, Ben. And let me see. Irish Demon, Reverend Friar, or I guess his father, Reverend Joe. No, this. Well, technically, this could be. This is Sunday. It's every Sunday, and we do congregate. You know, there is the pandemic going on, so this is.
Don't tell them what we do when the cameras are off.
You know, and technically, we check off a few more boxes. I could file for a 501c3.
You could.
Yeah.
The standards are deliberately vague.
Yeah, they are, especially here in I mean, to open up a church here in Texas, crazy easy.
You just have to say you're a church. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, I'm pretty much thinking about open up like the Sacred Mother of her personal exemption.
Yeah, John Oliver.
Yeah,
John Oliver already beat you to that.
This is true.
Yes.
Let me see. Clive Wells. I do not know where team is, and I don't know if he's snubbing the Beardies. He might be. You know, those go. You know, he just broke. He just recently broke 40,000 subscribers, so he may not have time for us.
Yeah, that's true. Certainly the little people.
Yeah. Crispy Bacon says, "Where's the Tubster?" Well,
I'm still here. I resent the implication that I would be late.
And Daryl M says, "I wish I had a spanner to time out that Irish Demon guy." I'll think about it, Daryl M. That's very enticing. Monkey in the Works says, "I'm here for my Sunday Beardsman service." God damn right. And yes, WebBart, I do like John Oliver. I never miss an episode. I actually got HBO Max primarily so I could watch John Oliver.
Wasn't there like a canceled John Oliver thing going around for a while? What was her name? Hang on. I'm gonna look this up because I saw
Nerd Angle. Good to see you. I don't know. I didn't hear about anything. I follow him pretty closely because I'm a big fan of like the John Oliver effect. I like to see what effect that Last Week Tonight has on the things that are going around the world. Like this last episode, he recently attacked the meatpacking industry, which is who knows what will happen from there. But I can understand he's pissed some people off.
Maybe it was a different person, but there was somebody, I can't remember who it was, but she got mad because she was being interviewed about her call to cancel somebody. I could have swore it was John Oliver, could have been somebody else, but yeah, she was all, I find it rather insulting that there's a white male interviewing me. I'm like, bitch, you agreed to the interview. I mean, you knew who was going to interview before you fucking said yes, you jackass.
That doesn't ring any bells from an episode of Last Week Tonight. So I don't think
it was an episode of Last Week Tonight. It was just somebody who was trying to cancel. Golly, who was it? I have to look it up because this is going to bug me.
Let's see.
Joe Rogan? No.
I'm surprised there isn't a canceled Joe Rogan going around.
Let's see. Chris Bacon, is that Daniel Pratt in the corner? No, his twin brother. His twin, smarter, more stable brother.
It is uncanny, I have to say. Like, yeah.
Basically, what you're seeing is an alternate reality version of Daniel Pratt if life had been like awesome and people liked him and
if his parents loved him
and he was raised correctly.
But boy, has he gone off the deep ends. Like he's just he is really, really close to doing to just flying off the handle. Yep. He is really, really.
We're here
sadly.
in America. We're here in America, so we'll say it correctly. He's about this close to picking up an AR-15 and winding up on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a sadly unstable individual.
Yes. I was I've seen a shit ton of Daniel Pratt's videos. And I can tell you that this last one that I watched with Irish Demon, the one that he put out, and I know that he had some fun with it, tweaking as far as sounding like this, but there were some moments there where he didn't mess with it. There were no little effects he put in there, and that was it creeped me out. Imagining this guy alone in his little basement next to his failing water heater with his trimless door, choking on cigarette smoke, laughing like that, like a friggin' maniac. Just there was Silence of the Lambs feeling to it.
Yeah, and I'm also a little bit distressed that there's nobody around him who is spotting his behavior become sort of dramatically more erratic, over the past week or so. So it just seems like he's in a really, really bad place. And he's constructed a mental framework that it's very difficult to get out of without some therapy that you take seriously.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So it is in some sense, sad and pathetic. And then he will open his mouth and he will say the absolutely most reprehensible stuff. And you just go, you've kind of dug your own hole here. I can actually see why there's nobody around you paying attention to your mental health.
Yeah.
Because you're noxious.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Thank you, Monkey in the Works, just to help with the 501c3 application. We do appreciate that. Pretty soon we'll be able to take donations and promise that you're going to go to heaven. The place that does, we can't verify that it exists, but we can sure as shit tell you that you're going to go there.
We don't have to. That is not a part of the criteria to become a church.
This is true.
We don't have to believe in heaven. You can say that if you believe in us enough, we'll come visit you in your hometown, which is not something that isn't on the docket for the Beardsmen, by the way.
See, Jessica G says Irish Demon is responsible for the hamdemic also going on simultaneously and rarely talked about. Oh, the hamdemic. What are we going to do? And Maximal's personal profile deliberately vague, like the process of deciding what are the great making properties of a maximally great being. Exactly. Strange how it kind of falls in line with that, And Fohammer, who even is the fourth Beardsman? I mean, really. I mean, we may be looking at a replacement.
Fohammer, just you just feel lucky that we were able to get JL Ghost Hunter on the show today. Okay?
Well, I mean, no one else is going to hunt the ghosts. Who else? I mean, someone's got to.
Somebody's got to do it. Might as well be.
Nerd Angle's correct. Yeah. Nerd Angle's correct. Just cancel everybody. Solved. Yeah. I saw somebody new pop up in the chat. A couple of new people. Let me see. It was Dr. Osiris. Good to see you. And someone new that I actually recently met. Thank you for popping by. That is Pio Chanel. It's Pio Channel 2. It looks like Chanel. But an individual that I met on Discord that I had an excellent chat with. I believe he is in Hamburg. So yes, peace from Hamburg. Thank you so much for popping by. It's excellent to see you.
Hamburger, very good.
Yeah. Watch out. Well, it's safe because Irish Demon is not here.
Yeah.
Dr. Osiris, good to see you. Does he do the COVID bum bump?
I don't even know what that is.
Professor says, hey guys, who are we talking about? Biden? No, we're not talking about Biden. Certainly not talking about Biden.
We're talking about Biden's fourth cousin, Daniel Pratt.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're talking about Biden's, we're talking about the donkey face pony show. Irish Demon says, you can't replace me, made the BBC, for Ted reference. I don't watch the BBC, so I don't get that reference.
I don't watch television.
So, Soma, Jessica brings up a good question. Is this the third week in a row that Irish has missed? You definitely missed last week on my channel. Was you on your channel there, Johnny?
I think so. I don't know. No, I don't know. I have to go back and look.
Well, also,
go ahead. It's a good question. Perhaps that was the week that Johnny couldn't make it. He had an excuse. He was like saving the world and fighting back ice sheets and that's single-handedly digging his way through
That was JL.
ice filled. Yes. Like I was sorry. Did I get it wrong again?
You said it was me.
Okay, sorry. I meant JL. You two are interchangeable. You're both, magnificently bearded studs from Texas. You're kind of interchangeable. Johnny's just the one with the amazing family, and the fat licks. I'm told.
Tasty.
I'm relying.
Tasty riffs.
But Irish doesn't have that sort of excuse.
Nope.
Yes, Irish says he was on the day I was called into work, and I was called in to handle stuff during that ice storm. That was absolute sucktastic. I was so exhausted, But it is what it is. You got to keep the power on. Got to keep people's heat going. Got to make sure people are safe. I do maintenance in a community, so they rely on me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but sucktastic doesn't sound like a bad thing.
Not always, but when it's sub-zero sucktastic, that's when it's bad. Jessica G. Clive Wells. # Tony is not expendable. Damn right, Tony's not expendable. He's just the least of the subjective values that I place upon everybody. Jessica G says they're interchangeable except the part where JL is kind of hot and Irish Demon is a lard ass. Hey,
I'm detecting a theme to Jessica's. It's subtle, but I think if you pay attention, she's coming back to the same literary themes over and over again.
Yes.
She's got a message she's trying to get out there.
And you know what? I'm going to reverse it. I'm actually PhD Tony's. The subjective value we place on things, his is increasing, whereas Irish Demons is steadily declining because if he keeps missing shows, eventually he's going to be the expendable one. Let's see. Chris Durham.
But you see, that's the question. Like, which of the other 4 Beardsmen would you give up? Well, it can't be Irish Demon because he's not going to be there.
You're right. You can't give him up. Right.
You can't give him up.
Can't give up something that's not there. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. Oh, a few more individuals pop by. Chris Durham, music channel, so good to see you. Captain Welshie, excellent.
Happy birthday, Chris Durham. By the way, happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Chris. And then it's me, Mario Rui. Good to see you. Oh, so many awesome people popping by. This one. See, Fohammer335 # cancel Tony's polos and dye his hair purple. What hair?
That's a good question. I mean,
try to dye his hair, it's gonna look like fucking Gorbachev or something.
It's just gonna have like a dome, a purple dome.
Oh, and speaking of unstable individuals, who are not Daniel Pratt, I got a message from Darth Dawkins out of the blue because Darth Dawkins, I told you he was coming. Yeah, and it eventually came up because I was actually in a chat. There was an AMA with an atheist biologist. What was his name? PZ Myers. PZ Myers was in the Discord doing an AMA yesterday. And Tony, I don't know if you're familiar with that name.
No.
All right. But anyway, he was doing an AMA about some various things. He's a pretty outspoken atheist. And I got a message out of the blue from Darth Dawkins, who apparently was in the chat as well. Messaged me directly, and it was surprising because he blocked me before because he doesn't want to have a conversation with me. He just wants to demand things. I actually sent a picture of this to Tony and to the rest of the Beardsmen, and he said I was making a number. He basically accused me of a number of false and slanderous statements on the Plot YouTube channel. Couldn't even get the plot hole correct. He talked to a friend of kind of a mutual individual. I consider a good friend, Corsi. Spoke to him, like that, and demanded that I make a public apology. It was like, "Are you going to make a public apology about what you said?" And I was like, and I can only say prove me wrong. So the point being, PZ Myers, yes, PZ Myers. PZ Myers, Clive Will says PZ Myers has gone off the rails. I don't know what's behind that. Elucidate. But yeah, pretty much went off on me about
Don't you mean refudiate? Don't you mean refudiate?
And proceeded to just jump on me, call me, and invariably it was very much accusations that I was slandering him, and it was slander and what's the defamatory. I was repeating slanderous and defamatory rumors. Now, I verified the information that I have as best I possibly can, but that involved talking to specific individuals. And to protect those individuals from reprisal, he demanded to know who I was speaking to, and I said I will not tell you these things. I have journalistic. I have some journalistic integrity. I'm not just going to give names so that you can go and confront those individuals. That's not how it works. No. But he's more than welcome to take me to court and sue me for slander and defamation. He's more than welcome to do that. If what I said, if anything that I said is absolutely wrong, is incorrect, he's more than welcome to do it. That is the process that we have here in America. He's free to do so. The problem is he will not do this because for two reasons. One, I'm right because I have verified information. And two, doing so would actually dox himself because then it becomes a matter of public record and he doesn't want people to know who he is. And technically, I didn't even dox him. I didn't say his real name. I didn't say where he lived. I just said, your life is shit.
Hasn't he done that to himself already, though? Isn't he already doxed himself?
He did. He accidentally doxed himself. And, Discord, the Discord sleuths picked up on that, and people, went to work on it and started pulling it apart and picking up. And they basically, once they got that one kernel of information, they started going through all of his videos and picking up little details. And once you put enough pieces together, you can figure out where the individual is. And they managed to do that. And it was another person on Discord. She's a YouTube creator, I think Godless, went off on him and threw it all in his face. And it was really, really sad. There's a video of it out there. But I didn't dox him. I didn't say his name. I didn't say where he lived. I didn't call out the names of the people that know him,
right,
or anything of that nature. No, I try to stay cool in that regard. But apparently, it was still slanderous and defamatory, and he's really, really pissed off. So he wanted me to make a public apology on my channel and retract everything I said. I was like, nope, you can sue me.
What you should have told him was, hey, make sure you hold your breath for that one.
Let me see here. Oh, KCA Randy, good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Good morning. But yeah, so yeah, the crazy people are out in force.
Good old Darth Dawkins, that guy. My goodness, I don't understand what make people like that tick. I don't get it.
I don't.
I mean, I know that it's like the insatiable ego and all that shit. What I mean is, stuff like that has just never been a motivator for me. I've never had to assert my ego upon somebody like that. It's just so stupid, and it's such a waste of time. Even if I felt strongly about something, if somebody asks me my opinion, yeah, I'll give it to you. But I'm not going to sit there and fucking try and shove it down your goddamn throat.
Yeah.
It's face fuck you with it.
He's like, okay, Bad Bible says DD is just a cowardly troll pretending to understand precept philosophy.
Yep.
And yes, Mr. Norman True, we did wish Chris Durham a happy birthday. Happy birthday again, Chris Durham.
Yep. And many more returns.
And many returns. But I've said what I've said before regarding him, why, kind of theorizing as to why he is the way he is. I mean, there could be there's a number of reasons as to why. Most of it is his fault. Some of it is poor circumstance. But ultimately, that's just the way he is. And he's not going to change unless he wants to change, which apparently he doesn't, because all of the hatred that he gets just reaffirms his own faith, reaffirms his position. It makes him feel like he's correct, because that's typically what fundamentalist theists or fundamentalist Christians consider is that the blowback that they get from trying to spread the word or spread the good news is exactly what they're expecting. It says so in the Bible.
Yeah,
And
right.
so that people will rebuke them, and they should take that as a sign that they are on the right path. That is exactly how a cult works. That is how cult indoctrination works. When the public rebukes you for your behavior, that's a good thing. No, typically you go out and you act like a fool, and people rebuke you, and they was like, "Get the hell away from me." The generally in society, we consider that to be, oh, maybe I'm not acting right. Society is rejecting me. But no, when you convince people that when you are ostracized or pushed away or called out or ridiculed for what you're doing, and that's a good thing, this flies in the face of social conventions. And
Well, so here's the thing. I will say this: that it's not necessarily a bad thing for you to be ostracized by. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something wrong. In Darth Dawkins' case, absolutely 100% means he's doing something wrong because the guy's a genuine jackass.
yeah,
But there are certain people out there that get ostracized because society just doesn't understand how to handle them or how to interact with them. Autism, right? So that comes to mind. And I don't think necessarily that it's ostracism. They're not doing it to really exclude them. It's just people don't know how to interact with these people. So it's not always, because you're a bad person that you're being ostracized.
well, a lot of their behavior is just shit.
No. Again, that's exclusive from Darth Dawkins. That guy's a piece of
No,
shit.
yeah.
That guy's a piece of shit.
See, Maximal's personal profile. You're persecuted, so you're right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That pretty much boils it down. Let's see. Peter Collings, thank you for popping by.
Hey, Peter.
Tony, you're uncharacteristically silent over there. You know how I know? Because I'm still awake.
Well, I had myself on mute, which probably didn't help. We really need to, I think, distinguish between faith and science. And to me, I was discussing this the other day. You can choose to believe something. Okay, that's fine. But do not claim that the science backs it up when the science doesn't. Okay. Because that's an independent thing. You can choose to believe that the evidence we have was made to look that way to create that impression or whatever. What Dawkins and people like him are doing is lying to people. Kent Hovind. Kent Hovind's also a liar, a con man, and a grifter. I think we have reached a critical point in our society. What countermeasures do we adopt to limit that? Right? Where do we turn to sort of say, okay, this person over here is lying to people in order to make money? Should he be able to do that using your platform or using public using a public resource? And we've got to make some decisions about whether or not we're going to allow this sort of bullshit going forward. I don't think we can. I think we need to start seriously considering the countermeasures that we need to deploy to stop that. And there's not only are these people, and we can go back to the Daniel Pratt element earlier, element of the discussion earlier. There's a man who's really, really dangerous. In addition to spreading outright falsehoods, that's a man who's really, really dangerous. And what countermeasures should be deployed to make sure that he doesn't get to be more dangerous, that he isn't organizing, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, those are excellent questions because people like Daniel Pratt are extremely dangerous. They have the propensity to violence. He has a history of it, and I won't get into that. I won't get into how I know that, but he's got a history of violence. He is a potentially dangerous person, and he does seem to be ramping up on the scale of insanity. I mean, and I mean that in legal and whatever. All I'm not trying to be funny when I'm saying that the guy is insane. He is legally insane.
Well, I think he's more than just insane. There's a discussion going on in the chat about whether or not the detective work against Darth Dawkins was justified. People like Darth Dawkins are not just antisocial; they're actually quite dangerous. And Daniel Pratt is an example. If Daniel Pratt, were left, unsupervised and had the intellectual agility to collect people's personal data, work out where they lived or whatever, that could lead to a very, very, very dangerous situation. And that sort of, he really needs to be discouraged and reined in. He really we need to assert some level of control. I can't help but think that we're sort of in the Wild West phase of the internet. And in decades to come, we're going to look back at this time and sort of say, wow, they really had no idea how to, construct a functioning society back then.
Right.
I really do feel like we need to have countermeasures in place that will control these really dangerous personalities, because there are a lot of them out there. And one of the things that emboldens them and gives them comfort is their anonymity, is the fact that they can, a lot of them get to come out and do this from, obscurity. They've got nothing to lose because there's no way of tracing stuff back to them. So they can track down and persecute individuals. They can stalk people. They can make another individual's life very, very uncomfortable. And there's no countermeasures to it. There's no defenses to it. And again, we've got to come up with some way of doing it.
It's difficult territory, isn't it? Because you don't want to infringe on an individual's personal rights.
Right.
And to kind of quote Captain Picard there, that vigilance is the price we pay for the freedoms that we enjoy.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Just because somebody's a jackass on the internet doesn't give anyone else the right to abuse that person.
Well, that's true too. But we had a case here in Australia where somebody persecuted a rival of their daughter severely enough over Facebook that she ended up taking her own life.
Right.
There are some really severe cases of bullying. I've come across people who have been stalked. I have come across people who have, to a low level of degree, stalked me. I've had flat earthers try and entrap me on my work email. I've had also, it's a quite, it gets quite sinister very, very quickly. And there's no systematic countermeasures in place for this sort of stuff. It works both ways. So yes, people don't deserve their life ripped apart for saying some rude things on the internet. On the other hand, people don't have a right to individualize their persecution or their antisocial behavior to the point that they get to that they get to harass people.
Right. So yeah, it's definitely a different type of thing. When you have those that do put out like Daniel Pratt. I mean, it's just the easiest one to keep referring to
Mm-hmm.
because he is guilty of all this shit. He uses his anonymity or his assumed anonymity to make baseless accusations about other people, and these are not just he's an idiot. No, he's a pedophile or he's a whatever. These things have serious repercussions in the real world. So I don't have any sympathy for people going after Daniel Pratt in that instance, because calling somebody something as egregious as a pedophile, that is going to bring a huge slew of negative response back your way.
Yeah, Nerd Angle brings up an interesting point. So he says, I think this is a question he's probably asked before. Does the community have a moral obligation to report people like Daniel Pratt to the authorities, lest he become another "we never saw it coming"?
Absolutely. Yes, the community does have a responsibility to make sure that people like Daniel Pratt, who have made veiled threats of violence towards others to the authorities, 100%, and it is not a slippery slope. That is not a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because he has gone out of his way. He has gone out of his way to make these veiled threats to people. And no, that shit needs to be reported. He needs to be reprimanded for that. He needs to be held liable for his criminal action.
I think in this age, when I think what got my attention was the Planet Pizza scandal, was the Pizzagate thing. Now, Pizzagate is bullshit. It's internet nut job conspiracy nonsense. But someone out there, one person out there, was convinced enough by this that they picked up an assault rifle, walked into a pizza place where children and parents were just going out to eat, and with a gun demanded to be shown a basement that doesn't exist,
right,
on a building that actually has a slab foundation. Because this can happen, and this made the news, but for some reason didn't seem to have the effect that I would think that it would have. This is why it's important. This is why, yes, I do agree, reporting individuals like Daniel Pratt, because we don't want to be caught with another, I can't believe that he did that. I never took him seriously, because that's how because I mean, and I know it's an extreme, and I know what I'm about to say is going to be a bit on the extreme side, but this is how we get Sandy Hooks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is how we get. Go ahead.
Well, I even on a smaller scale, the sort of Sandy Hook is a spectacular crime, but there have been people who have been individually, stalked and harassed, and there's no recourse for them. Right. They're in a situation where their mental health depends on maintaining, the social context they've made on the social life that they've constructed on the internet. I have to say that I don't think I would have survived, the COVID lockdown without the wonderful friends, including you guys and the great people in the chat, that I've made on the internet. But if somebody went about stalking me, making me feel uncomfortable, pursuing me, and we've had this happen in our community, right? We have had individuals decide to take a dislike to other people and harass them off the platform and harass them out of the community. It can be extremely personal. It can be extremely individualized. It can be very surgical. And that doesn't make it any less dangerous or harmful. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like it's the argument about, say, surveillance cameras in England or surveillance cameras in New York City. You would never have had surveillance cameras on the streets of New York City, just on on street poles, on light poles or whatever, until 9/11 happened, and then everybody goes, you know what, this is worth it. Sure, it could potentially be used to monitor me, but it's also monitoring everybody else. There are 10, 20 million people in New York of a day. It's really hard to sort of personalize your persecution in that sense. So we have on the one side a desire for anonymity. On the other side, we have sort of, if there's too much information, you are effectively anonymous anyway. So creating a system where people can be held accountable for their internet traffic, for the things that they do to other individuals, it does involve compromising our anonymity, but I don't actually think that internet anonymity is that great a thing. Anybody who wants to put in, like 5 minutes work, knows my name, knows where I work. I don't have any anonymity, and that was to some extent a deliberate choice when I started entering YouTube, because I didn't feel the need to shield, to hide my comments, to sort of avoid responsibility for my comments. And I kind of think that I can see why a lot of people do value their privacy, but if they abuse that privacy, if they abuse that right to not have people poke around in their personal lives, and they weaponize it so that they can stalk, harass, and harm other people, then I think they've stepped over a line. And we need to sort of, more effectively police that line. Because at the moment, we've got no mechanisms whatsoever in place.
Real quick, I want to get back. So Captain Welsh, the Sandy Hook was a mass shooting that happened in Newtown, New Jersey, where a gunman came in and killed...
Wait, Sandy Hook was in New Haven, Connecticut.
New Haven, Connecticut. Sorry, my mistake. Came in and killed how many people? How many was kids? How many?
Oh, I always hesitate looking this stuff up because I know I'm going to get.
Don't look it up. Don't look it up.
No, it was 28 deaths.
Yeah, 28 people.
27 people at the school, and the perpetrator Adam Lanza's own mother.
Right. So that's not fun.
No. 20 children between 6 and 7 years old.
Yep. And to this day, we still haven't had a reasonable discussion about what effective firearm reform looks like. And Fohammer, before you pick up on that, start running with that people trying to take away your guns, that is 100% not the case, and is not what I said. We have to have a real conversation of what firearm safety looks like in this country. And anybody who believes differently is living with their head stuck in the sand. Be it we need to take a look at how mental health affects firearm safety, then that's part of the conversation we need to have too. But to say that we don't need that, to sit there and blanketly say that we don't need any kind of firearm safety reform in this country is 100% false. You being a firearm owner should back the fact that we need to keep people who have mental health issues. The guy who went and did the Florida shooting, the Orlando shooting, the nightclub shooting. He was on the FBI's no-fly list. Yet he was able to legally walk into a firearm store and purchase firearms. How the fuck?
You talking about the Pulse nightclub shooting?
Yeah. How the fuck does that make any sense? You can't fly anywhere, but you can own all the guns you want. That makes no fucking sense because we thought he was a terrorist.
It comes down. It literally comes down to, obviously, there's a massive gun lobby. The NRA is understood. A good thing that that's come out of
Here's
the
a funny
internet
thing. Here's a funny thing, really quick. The NRA used to be in favor of stricter gun laws.
Yeah,
the vast majority of gun owners are. If you look at the polling, the vast majority of people who do own guns are in favor of background checks and compulsory safety checks, and indeed some limitations on the weapons that can be bought. But the NRA is is more of an extremist organization rather than a representation of reasonable gun owners.
Fohammer,
Now-
yeah, that came across a little more aggressive than I wanted it to be, because this is something that irritates me. It's not you. You don't irritate me. It's the people who go out and say, no, my rights, my rights, my rights. And, okay, cool. What about my rights? What about my rights to a safe and effective, secure household without the need of firearms?
As I can say, the problem is there's this rights issue. Now, one thing I have brought to when I ever get into these conversations, the one thing that I bring up is the complete misinterpretation of the Second Amendment and the Federalist Papers written by Alexander Hamilton that back that up. The number of the Federalist Paper escapes me. I'd have to go back and look it up real quick. But Hamilton explained very, very well, very, very thoroughly in the Federalist Papers as to what they actually meant by the Second Amendment, what was intended. Hamilton was smart enough to recognize that the language in the Second Amendment, or the language of the Constitution, was kind of vague in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
And for a reason, yes. And so the intentions behind what they wrote were explained out very, very well in the Federalist Papers. The Second Amendment was never intended to put a gun in the hands of anybody of age. That it was not the intention of the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment was never intended to ensure that if you wanted to have a gun, that you could go and get one. It did not protect the individual's rights to have a firearm. The language of the Second Amendment was intended to ensure that the President of the United States could not take away the National Guard from each of the individual states. The National Guard was set up. That was the militia. The militia became the National Guard, a regulated and trained group of individuals designated solely for the protection of the state. Okay, that's what the National Guard is. The Second Amendment ensured that the National Guard would always be able to be armed, that the president or a tyrannical government could not disarm the National Guard and remove the state's ability to defend itself against another enemy. Okay? Whereas the army can't protect the entire breadth of the nation. We need the National Guard at that level. And if the army were to ever be turned against us, the states need their own armies. And that is what the National Guard was intended for. The Second Amendment protects the National Guard, not an individual's right to carry a fucking, to go hunting with an Uzi.
I would further suggest that a private individual, I will still maintain this, though Fohammer will violently disagree with me, that an individual does not need access to semi-automatic long arms. So this is Jessica's experience is being brought up in the chat. She has been being stalked for 2 years now. The guy's using internet anonymity and account anonymity, and has acquired information about her over a span of time. It's sinister, it's creepy, it's incredibly. It's a dangerous situation, and there's no recourse. There's no possibility for police intervention. There's no protection. There's no there are no support mechanisms, and there's no way that this person can be held accountable for the negativity. And like any stalker, he's got all the power. The stalker has all the power in that relationship. He can just show up whenever the hell he wants, but the person being stalked has no idea when that's going to be, when that's going to happen. They live in a state of anxiety. It's cruel, it's malicious, and it shouldn't be happening. And our greatest strength as a species is our ability to work as a society, to preserve the rights and protect the individuals that comprise our society. These are, we are currently, the way things currently work at the moment, where the internet is not actually functioning in that way. It's not actually preserving the rights of individuals. Individuals are vulnerable to the whims of malicious and potentially very dangerous people. And I really think that something needs to be done to, to sort of rectify the situation. Anyway.
Okay, so I see a lot of stuff going on in the chat right there. And I just pulled it up because I wanted to reference it. And I understand Fohammer says there's something he will 100% debate me on. But there's a lot of stuff going on basically concerning about firearms. So I just pulled it up. It was Federalist Paper number 29. Entitled Concerning the Militia. And I just reread it real quick, just to stay right here. And Hamilton stated that a well-regulated militia composed of the people will be more uniform and beneficial to the public defense of Americans. He argues that an excessively large militia can harm a nation's workforce, as not everyone can leave their profession to go through military exercises. Thus, a smaller but still well-regulated militia is the answer. In the end, Hamilton concludes that the militia, as it is constituted directly of the people and managed by the states, is not a danger to liberty when called into use by other states to do things such as quell insurrections. The concept of this, when you add and you look at the language of the Second Amendment, is to ensure that the well-regulated militia, as spoken of in the Second Amendment, cannot be disarmed by the government. That's the point.
Right.
It does not speak to putting
Here's a more important point to what we're saying here. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights specifically, were written almost 200 years ago. We have effectively regulated, or we have effectively changed almost every single Bill of Rights in the Constitution, except the second.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out that when that was written,
Yes.
one individual could not kill 50 other people inside a minute.
Yes.
Right.
Who brought that up? Someone put that in the chat. And by the way, hello, Stevie B. Hello, Owlman. Good to see you. It was when that was written, people had muskets, not AR-15s. Yeah. The big thing, there was a commercial that aired in California that was pushing for this, and the commercial was very, very simple. It was a commercial involving a mass shooting. A guy walked into an office with a long rifle from like the late 1700s, fired once, everybody scattered, and then he spent the next 10 minutes reloading.
Oh, what, 10 minutes? I don't know about 10
I'm
minutes.
sorry, but then he stops, has to kneel down, pull it out, and start reloading the gun.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
that was when
someone with an effective long rifle, they could probably, I think that, what was it, 10 seconds to reload? Fohammer, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it? Yeah, I think it's 10 seconds to reload.
I'm not familiar.
A good soldier from the Napoleonic era could fire. A really good soldier from the Napoleonic era could fire 4 shots a minute.
There you go.
Wow, 15 seconds. Wow. Yeah. That's great. And let's see, it was drafted in a time of smooth bore. Let's face it, jail. Monkey in the Works says the Second Amendment was drafted in a time of smooth bore flintlock muskets. This is true. The technology has changed, and as the technology changes, the language of the law has to update as well. We are seeing this with the internet.
Angle, hang on a second. Nerd Angle says, but when it was written, the tyrannical government also had muskets. It is the easy retort. And that's no, because the quote tyrannical government also had access to monies that we don't have access to. They have access to Navy, artillery
pieces, cavalry, and the same is still true. It's like your AR-15 is going to protect you against main battle tanks or high altitude bombers or drones. It's sort of the idea that this is if the government decides that they're going to kill you and you own a bevy of AR-15s, then they're just going to send a tank.
Yeah.
Because your AR-15 isn't going to help you against your tank. Now, the argument that banning semi-automatic weapons doesn't work is false. In Australia, we did it. In fact, we reduced the ammunition capacity of every weapon to 2. You could basically own a double-barreled shotgun. That's a legal style of weapon. Now you can buy other weapon or a bolt action rifle with 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 a magazine capacity of 2, including one in the chamber. And the number of this was done in response to a gun massacre, and in the years since,
That was a Port Arthur
20
massacre, right?
that was the Port Arthur massacre. In the 23 years since, we haven't had a single one. Now, America is a different case because even if you change the laws, America has so many guns that are out there.
That's the
True.
issue.
Already, and that's
Tony, when did Port Arthur take place?
1997, I think.
1990. Let's see.
No, 1996.
1996, when the Port Arthur massacre took place, and since then, not a mass shooting in Australia since. Now, yes, there will be murders. Yes, people will get shot, but no mass shootings in Australia since 1996. In the year of 2020, when we were hit by a pandemic that locked down most of the nation, there were 615 mass shootings in 2020, resulting in 521 deaths, 2,541 injuries, for a total of 3,062 victims. Compared to the previous year, 2019, there were 181 more incidents than 2019, and we had a lockdown in 2020. That is the problem. You cannot ignore this. Even locked down completely, even with a lockdown economy, there were more mass shooting incidents in 2020 than there were in 2019. They are on the rise.
I have to address something that Fohammer says. I'm in the chat talking about if he's referring to the power of the U.S. government in accordance to an individual with firearms, saying how come that didn't work in Iraq and Afghanistan, the longest war. The goat herders and such have been able to keep the United States government at bay. There are so many other things involved with the Iraq and the Afghanistan conflict. You can't sit there. Look, if the United States had no fear of Russia or China, we could make the entire Middle East a fucking parking lot. It is a well-known fact. We outnumber them, we outgun them, and we outsmart them. But the problem that we have is, specifically with the Afghanistan thing, is that we've got Russia involvement with that as well. So we can't just go in there full guns a-blazing and level out Afghanistan, A. B, that would be wrong for us to do, seeing as how we are the ones who put Afghanistan in the place that they are in to begin with. So,
well, I would raise a third point there. It's a false dichotomy in the sense that for a citizen living in America, trying to mount armed resistance against the U.S. government, the U.S. government has control over your roads. Already has control over your roads, your power, your water, your sewage. Sure, if you want to go off and live in the Appalachians or the deepest, darkest corners of Montana, and wage a war against the U.S. government, you're free to try, but it's not going to turn out very well for you. They have IR sensing drones, and if you want to go and do that, I guess you're going to be dedicating your life. It's not actually a pleasant existence. The people in Afghanistan and Iraq did it as in extremis. It's I don't think that there's a valid there's a valid comparison there. But
I don't think so. And then
it's
he goes and asks, well, I guess he goes and asks, so why didn't it work in Vietnam? For the exact same reasons. Vietnam was a political conflict. We sent troops over there to fight as a show of force, but we were trying to fight an idea, the idea of communism. And who was the biggest communist state that was connected to Vietnam at the time? China, who we do not outnumber. So yeah, it's a lot more nuanced than just saying, well, it didn't work in Afghanistan, it didn't work in Vietnam, so therefore it won't work in the United States. It'll work if the government in the United States says, "Hey, Fohammer, we think that you're a threat, and we're going to take you down." Guess what's going to happen, Fohammer? It's not even good. It won't even make the news. It won't even make the news. And maybe something. Oh, a car accident happened. That's it.
And a couple of things below. Webbard stated, but does that even matter? The Constitution is not a religious document. Hamilton is not a god. A country should be able to change parts if it wants. And yes, a country should be able to change parts of it.
And
we have done so.
Yeah.
We have repealed prohibition. We have given women the right to vote. We have repealed the racist bullshit that was in the Constitution, the 3/5 compromise and crap like that. We have done this. And we can make these changes. The Second Amendment needs to be altered. The language needs to be changed to match the times. That's what we face it with the internet every single day. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we'll get there eventually. Fohammer says the militia is any man over the age of 14 to 75 who is capable of defending the nation against the government. But the problem is it's not the language is well regulated. Well regulated meaning managed by the state. We got a lot of yahoos out there.
See, that's where we get into issues of.
We have a lot of yahoos out there wearing shit they bought at the Army Navy surplus store, thinking that they're playing fucking commando out there in the goddamn woods.
Yeah, we start getting to the more nuanced of interpretation. So that's where and our government has sided with the individual's right to bear firearms. The Supreme Court has, what was it, 1985, 86? I can't remember the Supreme Court ruling that sided with more so with the individual's right. It's one of the few cases that rarely make it to the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court doesn't necessarily want to argue this one, doesn't want to have to rule on this one. But in many court cases past, it has always sided with the individual's right to bear arms. That's an interpretation type thing.
Michael Deaton says the U.S. is doing its best to become Afghanistan. LOL. Lunatic, right-wing, bigoted religionists who reject science, ride around in trucks brandishing firearms and oppressing women is pretty much the South. It's extreme. I don't think that we'll get to Afghanistan levels of control. I don't think that the Taliban is going to come here or a Taliban-like agency is going to come over and pretty much suppress American freedoms. The one thing that is beneficial about being Americans is, number one, the conversation we're having right now, or the type of conversation we're having right now, cannot occur in many countries out there. The fact that we.
Well, I was just going to say, sort of the point of this discussion, the reason we kicked off down this road, was from the point of view of how to prevent this sort of thing. So it's not just it's not just the the antisocial behavior that people can do, or the misinformation they can spread, or the noxious forces they can mobilize. It's all the one issue, right? Our society has now new forums in which it operates, in which antisocial behavior that damages the fabric of American society and indeed global society more generally, is allowed to flourish. And that, and it's being weaponized against us by enemies of our society, by the Russians, by the Chinese, by the North Koreans. They are weaponizing the internet against us. They're exploiting the capacity for the internet to damage our social cohesion and our social coordination. All of it is the one issue. We need to better operate as a society on the internet, and that involves personal responsibility. Individuals need to be responsible for their actions while on the internet. It's that simple. You don't get to wander around and stalk somebody. You don't get to, just lie your fucking ass off about pizza places, and the Clintons having left a trail of bodies through their political career, or or what have you. Like that should not be possible, and yet it is, and we accept. Well, that's Q is just exercising his right to free speech. No, he's not. He's doing something that is dangerous and damaging, and he should be prevented from it. And we as individuals, in our everyday lives, we understand that if we do something damaging, if we do something antisocial, we're held responsible for it. And we lead responsible lives. But people get onto the internet and they don't lead responsible lives because they're not held accountable, because they're basically anonymous. And you see it, that there's not even the attempt at rational discourse or reasoned argumentation, because you're anonymous. As Irish Demon was saying earlier, Daniel Pratt would never say this sort of shit to his face. But he gets on the internet and he feels, empowered to be able to rail to his heart's content about, with his anti-Semitic filth, and accusing people of being fascists. This is not working properly. And we need, and it's obvious it's not working properly, and we need to start remediating the situation. We need to start fixing it and working out how, and reinstituting the concept of personal responsibility and personal accountability seems to me to be a large component of what we need to do going forward.
Absolutely. There definitely needs to be some sort of, I don't even know. Internet police is kind of the funny way to say it, but there needs to be something. Because it's,
suddenly occurs to me. You're watching the news and anchors, news personalities. You see them online. You know who they are. They're employees of their company. That's what they do. So we did, and we realized that. Well, I'm having another thought in the middle of that. It kind of just derailed what I was thinking, because it's all about because the anonymity exists. Okay, if the anonymity exists, they don't have to put up their personal information. Yet they're going out and they're basically having the same effect as a news anchor is going out. They may not be talking to tens of millions of people, but they're talking to enough people to sometimes have an effect. And it's because no one they can hide behind the wall of anonymity that's the internet. What if there was no internet anonymity?
Yeah, I mean, it's
like at all.
My argument would be, you don't need to, if you aren't prepared to put your name behind it, why are you saying it? Why are you there promulgating it? There are, at the same time, I don't feel like actually my employer should have control over what I can or cannot say on the internet, or how I can or cannot comport myself on the internet. I think that would be unreasonable. But apparently, certainly the laws in Australia disagree with me. You very much can be fired for saying stuff on the internet. In Australia, certainly if you're a government employee, you have no right to even like a post that is critical of a government policy, even from an anonymous account. People have been fired for doing so. And I think that that's a clear infringement of free speech. This gets back to the to the Gina Carano debacle. I think that there are really, which Johnny discussed on one of his recent shows, and explored both sides of. Gina Carano went in, she signed a contract, and she did receive a warning, and then she went out and she said something pretty stupid. Nowhere near as obnoxious as what Daniel Pratt said, I hasten to add.
Right.
But and so coming from my original position, I actually don't think it should be possible to do that to Gina Carano, because I don't think that your employer should have that level of control over what you say and what you express. And I kind of think that we've gotten, we've normalized the concept that Disney, of course, have the right to sack somebody for exercising their right to free speech. Really?
So here's
really are we is that normal? Is that right? I don't think that it is.
Well, okay, so this is where it does get a little weird for me. Where I do think that companies have the right to say, you know what, you don't represent our brand in a way that we think it should be represented. Therefore, we are not going to renew your contract, or we're not going to offer you further employment. I think that if somebody says, hey, I kind of agree with this politician or that politician, or I don't necessarily, get down with the whole gender pronouns thing, I think it's silly. Do I think somebody should be fired for that? No, of course, that's just dumb. And again, I honestly think that Disney, again, I've said it before, Disney firing or refusing to, and that's the thing, they didn't fire her, they just didn't renew her contract, but refusing to bring Carano back, I think it was more detrimental to them than they think. They seem to realize.
Well, that's what happened with James Gunn and the Guardians of the Galaxy cast. Because stuff came up in Director Gunn's Twitter feed like 10 years ago that people found to be offensive. Well, I mean, he was an early comic. It was early in his career, and he said some offensive things. Comedians tend to do that when they're trying. That's just part of the name of the game. Obviously, it's a decade later. Now he's a major director and doing big stuff for Disney. And then that stuff came out. People tried to cancel him. Disney shut him down, and they fired him from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And of course, he's going to keep working. He had other projects going on, so he went about his life. And the entire cast of Guardians of the Galaxy 3 said, "We are not doing this unless you bring him back." Led by Dave Bautista. It's like, we're not doing this. No, this is bullshit. And Disney relented, and now we have a Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because it was bullshit to cancel him over something 10 years ago that was ridiculous. And if you go back and read, I don't even know why. If you go back and look at it, you'd have to be a real.
He was doing that Patton Oswalt thing, right?
Where, you'd have to be a real fucking Karen to get pissed off at the shit that he was saying.
Well, so surface level, it did look very egregious. If you didn't know what was going on, it was highly offensive. Because he was doing that Patton Oswalt had made this post talking about the way that Twitter breaks things up.
Yeah.
Like when you're doing long posts on Twitter, is that if you're not careful, it could break things up in the worst ways. And he made several examples of that, showing how, like, one of them talked about how that, yes, and I'm a pedophile. Talking about how if people who are into foot fetishes. Yeah. And it just the weird ways that Twitter breaks things up. That's what, if I remember correctly, that's what got James Gunn involved in that whole business. He was riffing on that as well. They both kind of riffed on that same sort of thing. As if memory serves. I know Patton Oswalt for certain was part of that. Let me look at that because I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Johnny, what is your background like keep changing?
Because this web camera here is weird.
It's cool. It's a cool effect. It'll like light, and then it'll go orange, and it'll go blue. And
Yeah, it's
it's kind of neat.
as the sun rises, it's weird.
Peter Collins says, "This is why I love the Four Beardsmen. Real conversations about real issues. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, Peter Collins. We appreciate that. I think the four of us, including Burger Muncher over there, I think the four of us are. We've gotten to a point where we've seen so much." We've seen so much goofiness and ridiculous behavior, with flat Earth and blah blah blah. This is the debunking community. Yeah, we have a lot of people from the debunking community in the chat right now, and it can. I felt. I don't know. I don't think I can speak for the other guys, but I felt that conversation was a very very small drop in a very very large bucket, and other things needed to be addressed, and that is what we try to do here. There are legitimate conversations that need to be had regarding real topical issues here in the States. And a lot of them, they should be national conversations. And there are people out there other than us trying to make them national conversations. But I don't think it's loud enough. I think more people need to talk about these things. And I think that there is enough difference between Australia, or I would say enough difference and similarity between Australia and America. I think we can learn a lot from Australia. They've been there, done that. I think there's things that we could take away from their country's experience. I think there's some things that they could take away from us. But I love getting the outside opinion on that. I think that's where we try to go. We try to, actually have like legitimate topical conversations where we don't all just end up calling each other retards. You don't know what you're talking about. Fuck you. F equal, F over MA, whatever.
We don't get all sciencey on your asses.
Yeah, just, talk about things that affect our lives. Flat Earth does not affect our lives at all.
But I do think that it is symptomatic, right? The fact that Flat Earth can even persist for seconds, right?
True.
Just shows the harm that can be impacted. And you look at people who have been, drawn into the, in order to believe Flat Earth, you need to believe that there is a gigantic international conspiracy dedicated to concealing the truth and fabricating all of this, fabricating photos of Earth from space, fabricating GPS, fabricating seismic data, all of that sort of stuff. Fabricating plane travel, and then you and you need to believe that the entire scientific community is just completely inept. It's a real, I don't. To me, it is a symptom. It's sort of the canary in the coal mine. Sorry, it has no significance. It has no significance in and of itself, but it shows just how damaging this can be. There are people, that obviously there are grifters and con men and liars and people who are just picking fights, but then there are people who have been pulled down a rabbit hole and who are just wasting their lives on this nonsense.
Yeah.
I was going to use a harsher term, but there is a mini plot hole there. Greetings. Good morning.
Hey, Munchkin.
We'll say hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
She just woke up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is a highlight of her Sunday. It's coming down here and crashing the Beardsman show.
That's awesome.
Like I do every
Done.
Sunday.
Yes. Thank you so much. You make our show so much better.
You want some waffles?
Wait, they're already ready?
Yeah, I gotta do is heat them up.
Damn,
breakfast time.
I want some waffles now.
Oh, everybody! Yes, I have been posting the new link or the link to the new Beardsman channel. So that's where we're going to start. From now on, we're going to be on that channel. The Beardsman show will be live on that channel starting next week, actually. So go subscribe. Yeah, go subscribe and do all the fun stuffs, and we'll start posting the old shows. We'll start posting the shows to that channel as well.
Nice.
That's an undertaking in itself. So I'll make sure and get it done. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
Beardsmen.
that
Yeah.
will be good.
I'm sorry, Tony. I apologize for the F over M or whatever I fucking said. I riff terribly. I am so much better with the script. I think my riffing is getting better. It used to be really, really bad. Now it's only sort of bad. But if I go too fast, I definitely trip over myself and I do dumb shit like I say F over MA or whatever I fucking said. And basic trigonometry was like, yeah. And I told him, he's like, my riffing is shit. I know I didn't say it right. And basic trigonometry was like, I know, my dude, it still hurts my brain. I saw the same effect on Tony's face. And so just like, it's like it just hit him right in the kidney. Shit. So you had the rabbit punch with the bad scientific terminology.
Yeah.
So I apologize about that, but yeah, I think people understood what I meant with that one. Like I said, it doesn't affect my life, and to be honest, Earth sciences and everything, it's interesting stuff, but it was never my focus. It was never like a big focus of mine. There are smarter people out there that understand it, and guess what? If I don't understand why the world turns or why I stick to it, I still stick to the turning world. You know,
Yes.
it never seemed to be very important to me because there were other people, there were other top men were working on that. I will work on the things that interest me. You know.
Hey, Slim. Apparently, Jessica says that that Irish Donuts ate your script.
Yes, apparently he did.
Yeah, so this is where this show is fun for me because we get to talk about serious subjects and still have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I will point out also that we've had sort of disagreements. We've had disagreements in the chat, we've had disagreements on the show, and I have gotten heated, right?
Yes, you fucking have. Hey, Slim Living Cyborg, good to see you. And Catnip Entertainment.
But even then, I don't just say, I don't just, call you a fucking idiot and then, storm off or just resort to abuse. And I don't, and I do understand sort of that just because you don't agree with me on everything or have the same attitudes that I take into it, that makes you a horrible, bad person that needs to be attacked all the time. And I feel like, there's a level of comportment that I think is that I think we do manage to strike, even when we're being funny, even when we're being serious.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to constantly remind people about ghosts or God or anything like that.
Look, I think you need to. I personally feel, that we need to reinforce that it's okay for you to be yourself, JL. And feel shame now that you're not going to get any sympathy from me, given the public humiliation that I these are my work colleagues. If one of them, these are people I have to look in the eye when I go to conferences or review their papers, and you may. You guys are terrible. That's all I'm going to
it's straight up. We need to get a list of all of the names of everyone that PhD Tony works with professionally. Yep. Get their email addresses and email him that. Yes, I fucking can. all the little clips that Irish Demon put together, inserting that. Yeah, they all need to see that. This needs to be a side of Tony that his professional colleagues see. Those stuffy individuals.
Listen, this is the stuff that has to wait until he retires. When we get word of his retirement party, that's when we contact his colleagues. Like, here, look, just put this in there. All of a sudden, like in the middle of this, there'll be like this beautiful montage of PhD Tony on Antarctica Mount, some Antarctic thing where he's drilling ice this and doing this serious science shit and working on this probe that's about to go to the ends of the universe and whatnot, and all of a sudden, yes, I fucking can. We'll be right smack dab in the middle of that.
I was talking with my boss about a paper that I'm working on, and trying to say how delicate it was to explain my position that what previous workers have done is consistent with the evidence, but the evidence needn't be the entire picture. And he's gone, yes, I can see that would be difficult. I imagine that your first draft would be, it is idiotic to assert that. And yeah.
Let's see here. Jessica G says, he did eat my script. What did she play? Lie me play, or worse, the Ghost of God. That's true. Jessica G says, I sit here and point out that Irish Demon is super fat. I haven't apologized yet, but I plan to leave my apology on my tombstone.
I've seen the first draft for Jessica G's tombstone. It just says rest in peace. So
wrote it no last name. It says Ed J.L. Warren. What about Anonymous versus Scientology? Could it be argued that anonymity and harassment could be used as a force for good?
I don't know the case of anonymity versus
Anonymous, the group of web hackers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Utilizing internet anonymity and their hacking skills and their harassment skills to go after, obviously dangerous cults like Scientology.
Well, I don't.
How
think
dangerous is Tom Cruise? I mean, come on. I could fold him in half and put him in my back pocket.
He's just a little guy.
He's a wee little guy.
It's interesting. I think, let's see, with Anonymous, that is a very interesting question, because we sit here and we rail against the individuals who do it and I think it's because, by and large, more people use that to make other people's lives hell than they do to affect positive change. Yes, anonymity and the internet can be utilized for causes of good, to strike at the heart of really, really bad shit. Of course, it can. But I think more often than not, unfortunately, because of the anonymous nature of the internet, the individuals who want to do harm will be more inclined. I think more people will want to do that, and that will come out. I guess I'm thinking of it like when people do good stuff. Typically, they want to be attached to that. Typically, not all the time, but typically they want their name attached to that thing that they did. And when people want to do bad shit, they definitely don't want their names attached to it. So I think the anonymity of the internet is more conducive to the people who want to spread hate and fear and intolerance and bigotry and all of their bullshit than there is for good people want to do. Yeah. I applaud Anonymous and the work that they do. They have done some pretty amazing things. There's a lot of people who fucking hate them, but they've exposed terrible shit.
Yeah,
they have brought things
Jessica
to light.
G also mentions they have stolen hundreds
of millions
of
dollars. Yeah,
lots
they're hackers. That's the reality of it. I mean, they are literally, what is it? They're Reddit weaponized. So
yeah, it's I'd rather have an official response to Scientology. For my money, it clearly, well, for starters, I don't think that any religion should be tax exempt. So we can start with something that isn't aimed directly at Scientology, and just remove the tax exempt status of all religious institutions. I don't think that they deserve it. If I'm being honest, their business is just like any other.
Agreed.
And Daryl M says they have done some shit things as well. And Anonymous has done some shit things. And it would be remiss of me to say that Daniel Pratt's entire life is summed up solely by the videos that he puts out. Okay, Darth Dawkins, the entirety of Darth Dawkins' life is summed up by the videos that he puts out. No. I'd be remiss if I said that. I firmly believe that there are some things that Darth Dawkins has done in his life that were a force for good, that were positive in nature. There's probably people that he's helped, people that have relied upon him, things that he has done that have made a positive impact, no matter how small in the world. Okay, it's going to be 50-50 however you look at it.
I don't know if anonymous, though. I would say anonymous is 50-50 good versus bad.
I would say, I think what I mean by that is they're capable of either thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think they have gotten a little bit too much power for their own good, and I think that is corrupting them.
I don't think that this organization should really exist.
I would tend to agree.
I'm not certain to what degree it can be considered an organization. Many people like to throw around terms like anonymous or Antifa that are kind of umbrella terms for more complex structures. There's no sort of formal membership or or organizational control or rank structure or anything like that. So to me, their very nature, they illegally access systems for their own purposes. That's a criminal act, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, Jessica says for every good Anonymous has done, they're responsible for 200 bad things. They're not hacktivists; they're criminals. And I mean, I don't have the data on that, and I don't know who's. I mean, and pretty much anybody can go online and claim that they're a part of it. They're a part of Anonymous. Either to like hey, I'm a hacker, and I'm a part of Anonymous. You automatically have a better opinion of me and the things that I do. There's very, very murky waters there. I don't think I wouldn't hazard to try and make a determination as to who are the criminals and who are the hacktivists within Anonymous. So criminals that have used the good things to mask all the illegal shit they do. And I agree that definitely goes on. Absolutely. The metrics of it or the parade, I couldn't possibly guess. I've seen is that there are individual people who claim Anonymous and they do really, really bad shit. And then there are people who claim Anonymous and have done some really, really good shit. So I take one with the other, take the good with the bad as best I can. I just, I don't think there's enough.
Let's take another example, which is, I've forgotten their name now. The CAT organization, the British Public Investigative, Bellingcat, that's the one. So Bellingkat. They were responsible for a lot of the investigation into the shooting down of MH17 and the nerve gas deployments by the Assad regime in Syria. And they did this by analyzing publicly available data. So they just got investigators to go through all of the data that was publicly accessible from the areas in which these crimes had taken place, and they analyzed the evidence that they had and were able to make quite compelling cases about what had happened in each instance. That is that started out as a purely voluntary organization, but they're prepared to put their names to it. They're prepared to stand behind it. The people associated with Bellingcat, I think now they've been taken up by they're in cooperation with CNN. Perhaps CNN provides some funding. Not exactly sure, but they started out completely independent. And they just did it on their own time. But they do a lot of really, really good work. And I kind of feel that if Anonymous were doing good work, they'd kind of look like that. That's just my opinion. Obviously, they're making different decisions. But like I say, I think illegally breaking into secure systems is dangerous and illegal.
Yep.
True.
You know, and while it may be necessary, while it can serve a useful purpose in the sense of demonstrating weaknesses in systems or weaknesses in national infrastructure, those are only useful if you share them with the authorities. So it's only by working in concert with the authorities that this can really be turned into something positive.
Yeah, I just checked out the Bellingcat website. Wow, some wild shit on there. So they investigate right-wing extremism.
No, they investigate Russian assassinations. Like they were able to work out. You remember the nerve gas poisoning in the UK a few years ago. They were able to track down two individuals responsible for that and their passport numbers, and they demonstrated that the passport numbers were close in sequence to another passport that was used by a Russian intelligence agent. So they just do that sort of thing.
Wow, interesting. Okay, I see the Frontex at fault, European border force complicit in illegal pushbacks, rockets over Yemen inside the Houthis' botched attack on Aden airport, the QAnon timeline, 4 years, 5,000 drops, and countless failed prophecies. Navalny poison squad implicated murders of 3 Russian activists. Yeah, they cover the full range.
Yeah, so their idea is that there's a lot of information that's publicly available. Webcams on trucks or people's social media accounts or what have you, and they just comb through that for whatever they can get, and they try and use it to and analyze it very carefully. I haven't looked at any of their stuff in the recent past, but they do a lot of really good investigative work, or they have done a lot of really good investigative work. The stuff I've seen is really great. Anyway.
Interesting stuff. I have to give that website a good look.
For those people who haven't, I would recommend checking out Bellingcat. It's interesting to me because their internet organization, I think, does a lot of good. So we've talked about all of the bad that can come from social media and the internet and that sort of thing. Bellingcat seemed to me to be one of the sort of very, very good things that has come out of it all.
Let's see. Well, we went to that, yeah. The official Irish Demon Magic the Gathering card. I saw that Leviathan. That's hilarious. Yep. We need 11 more to hit the 100 mark over at the new Beardsmen channel.
Yep. I think we're 9 more now. We need 9 more, and we're there.
Nice, excellent. And of course, this video has 36 likes and 50 people in the chat. Hit that like button. Smash that like button. I've never asked anybody to smash a like button except for like on my videos. If you like it, hit the like button. But hey, smash that like button. I feel weird asking that. That feels very strange. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to do that again.
Yeah. I don't use the terminology "smash that like button."
Go on and smash that like button. No, I'm not feeling it. I mean, I like saying "smash it like a zombie head" because at least that's evocative for a week in horror. But
yeah,
Beach 8 smooshed it, so there you go.
Or that.
Yes. So yeah. It's been a wild conversation. We've gone all over the map.
All over the map, yeah. Yeah. Those are fun though. Those are good ones. That's when you know the show is really interesting, when we can start out talking about what the fuck did we start out talking about?
Well, toxic people. Daniel
Yeah.
Pratt, then Daniel Pratt, then Darth Dawkins, then internet anonymity, the dangers of it, to gun rights, to oh god, where did we go from?
Regulating the internet, regulating internet discussions,
Regulating internet, yes. So, oh yeah,
the power, the value of anonymity, responsible journalism, responsible administration of the internet, social versus antisocial behavior, etc., etc., etc.
Jessica G, we started out talking about Irish Demon being the size of a bus.
Ah, that's true.
Which is
oh my god, Jessica G, put up another link.
Oh, Jessica G. What would we do without you, Jessica G?
laugh a lot less. That's for certain.
Yeah.
And for those who have not noticed or chosen to go along, Jessica has her own gaming channel, and it is a lot of fun. She's actually been playing through The Last of Us, and Clive Wells has chosen, over multiple weeks, it has to be pointed out, to advocate that Jessica, that zombie lives matter, flaming demon heads matters. Basically everything that Jessica is fighting against, their lives matter. So now she's playing The Last of Us and killing as many people as she possibly can. And it turns out that's quite a lot.
Well, I mean, the last time that I saw her last time I saw her take mercy on somebody, that bitch got up and fucking shot her anyway. So yeah, kill them all.
Yeah, well, there is that. This game doesn't encourage negotiated settlements of any sort.
No mercy.
She's quite good at killing her way through lots of
people in the neck.
Scumbags. Yes, thinning The Last of Us. Yeah, it does seem like by the end of the game it's going to be the central character and people she likes.
That puts a whole new spin on it.
Yeah.
But it is an entertaining watch, and I thoroughly recommend it.
Yeah, and she continues to make fun of people, so there you go.
Yeah, she does.
It's the best of both worlds.
So, what else you guys got? You guys have anything?
Man, that's a good question. I was just thinking that. You didn't want to talk about Mortal Kombat again because we talked about that last week. And then you're obviously a hater, so whatever.
I'm not a hater yet. I'll decide if I'm a hater after the movie comes out.
You've already decided that you're a hater.
No,
you said so. You said so
surprised.
On Friday. You said so on Friday.
I could be surprised. I could absolutely be surprised.
You said that you could be surprised, which means you're already on the hater wagon. You got your haterade going, okay?
Well, I have the haterade brewed.
You got it brewed.
Okay.
You got it brewed. You've got it chilled. It's in your cup. The cup is on the way to like this. You're just like this with the haterade.
No, it's sitting here waiting for me, and I have to. And of course, it has to get cold. And of course, it has to get cold because haterade is best drunk cold. So I have to. I'm letting it sit. It'll reach room temperature, and then I'll throw some ice in there. I'm waiting for it to come out.
You've already got the ice, and it's in your cup. It's frozen. You got it ready to go.
Oh, Web Bars, is the stream over or something? Done talking?
No, we call those pregnant pauses.
Yes.
Pregnant pauses, yeah.
Let's see. Nerd Angle says Street Fighter is greater than Mortal Kombat.
No.
I think it's a personal preference. I honestly enjoyed Mortal Kombat more than I did Street Fighter.
I'm
I
sorry,
really did.
but and then I almost got upset with Mortal Kombat for doing the same thing. But when Street Fighter just puts out the same video game with a different superlative adjective somewhere,
Street Fighter 2 Championship Lightning Ultra
yes,
Super Awesome Edition. Yeah, it's
golly,
So
Super
I am
Street
going
Fighter 2. Go
to
ahead.
Have a good
I'm
night, Daryl
going-
M.
going to make one observation, which is that the Street Fighter film had Raul Julia in it.
It did.
And
This is true.
that is one level on which Street Fighter is greater than Mortal Kombat.
But Street Fighter, the movie, also hired a Frenchman to play an American soldier.
The day
Um,
the day Bison entered your village was the greatest day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tragic, such an immensely talented individual, and I was so looking forward to more Addams Family films.
Yep.
And he really did dedicate himself to that role because his kids liked Street Fighter. So even though seriously ill, he really, and he knocked it out of the park. I mean, you can't really think of Street Fighter the film without coming up with Raul Julia's lines. Like, he's just a legend.
I have to say that Street Fighter, the movie, was so bad that it killed Raul Julia.
Oh,
Ouch.
that is harsh.
All I
soon?
want
soon?
to do is rule the world. Is that so much to ask?
Oh, I'm sorry. He's from Belgium. My
Yes,
mistake.
although the muscles from Brussels.
Yes.
Who speaks with a French accent? I get it. Yeah.
I'm going to take my boat upriver. I'm going to kick that son of a bitch Bison's ass so hard
Yeah. It was
that
such
the
a
next
terrible
Bison
movie.
wannabe is going to fill it.
Yeah, such a bad movie.
Yeah, it was
So bad, it's so bad you have to watch it, right? Like every time it comes on, well, back when I had television, every time it would come on TV, I would stop what I was doing and watch it simply because it's so bad. You have to just remind yourself how terrible a movie could be, yet still enjoyable.
And Lobby Play says, although I'm really hoping the new Mortal Kombat destroys it as well as all Mortal Kombat films. Because I am a Mortal Kombat fan. I'm a huge Scorpion fan. Have been since the very first game, since I was playing that arcade game in the local 7-Eleven.
Yep.
I've loved Mortal Kombat. I mean, it was one of the first games that I got when I got my Sega Genesis. The one that's sitting in the glass case right behind me.
Yep.
I've always loved
game
the
to get. If you if you got a Sega Genesis, it was because of Mortal Kombat. It's because they had the blood codes. It was because they went against
ABACABB.
they went against the Super Nintendo. Oh, we're gonna be all nice and not have blood and guts and fatalities that are all bloody. No, fuck that. Let's talk about Mortal Kombat. Come on.
And I love that. I love that franchise, and I really, really hope that the movie does very well. I do. As a fan, I hope it does well. As a filmmaker, I have my doubts. Just like, I had my doubts when I saw the trailer for Mortal Kombat Annihilation. You will die.
Yeah, but that's a
like, come
terrible.
on.
That's a terrible comparison. That's a terrible comparison. So much went bad. So much went wrong in the pre-production for Mortal Kombat 2. That movie was destined to fail.
Lamy Play says, yes, very true. Scorpion has always been the best character in a fighting game ever. There's not many like him. Actually, there's a tie. I think Lizard Man in Soul Calibur 2 was probably is up there. A very close second, if not tied with Scorpion. All I know is I pissed off a lot of people playing both characters.
So the Nerd Police haven't yet responded, but I feel like you're inviting repercussions if
if the movie is amazing, it just blows my fucking mind. Just collectively blows the minds of everybody who watches it. All the better for the franchise. All the better for video game movies. Really, and that's what I hope for. that we can have
Yeah.
video game movie adaptations that are amazing.
Let me ask you this: specifically speaking about Mortal Kombat, and I'm sure you've kept up with all the different iterations of it. You've got Mortal Kombat. I think with the whole storyline that really started to get good. And I want to say it was Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance is when they really started to go more cinematic with the storyline.
Yes.
Do you think that there really needs to be a film?
Given how even Mortal Kombat X, and the stuff they're doing, I have heard complaints that there are of all the cutscenes that it's virtually like it's a movie with like fighting bits in it.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it is just fan service. I'm always for more movies. I'll always.
Oh,
be
I'm not
like,
saying
yes.
I'm not saying that let's not do the movie, but do you think that maybe this movie is set up to fail because of all the cutscenes because of all the cinematics that are in the newer games? Do you think maybe that's the reason why it's so difficult to take a video game movie and make a good movie out of it?
I would say that there's an argument for that. Absolutely. There's we see the same problem with the Warcraft film. That film, of course, there was a lot of issues with production as well. Director Duncan Jones said it was like death from 1,000 cuts, Legendary and Blizzard and everybody involved just kicking his ass trying to make this movie. But if you look at the quality of World of Warcraft cinematics, and like we watch those and we're like, we want a movie that's like that. This is amazing. And then they try to make a movie out of it. There is a kind of a level of expectation. And I think it may have done more harm than good for the film. I'm not sure. I think there's an argument there for it.
Because of expectations.
Yes.
If you remember the first, I don't know, for me, the first really good cinematic video game was Resident Evil. And I can't stand that film series. I think it's terrible. I think they've done a shit job.
The first one was amazing.
First one was garbage.
The first one was great.
It was not great. It was garbage.
I'm going to go with Johnny on this one. I mentioned at the beginning of the chat we have a Norwegian. I spent a week in Trondheim with absolutely nothing to do. I was there to for a conference on seismic influences on operations in the North Sea or something like that. But it had been cancelled while I was in the air to get there. So I had nothing to do for a week in Trondheim. So I went to the cinema every single day. And Resident Evil was one of the few films in English that they were showing. And it was crap. Like, it just really, really bad. Like, just,
Wow.
Okay. Mila Jovovich, okay, she's fine, but Jesus, just a crap film from beginning to end. Absolutely nothing interesting about it.
I felt like it just really they tried to do something different, but everything that made Resident Evil the video game so awesome, it seemed like it just did not translate or did not it didn't make it into the film. Like they tried to get to like all this high tech bullshit and whatnot in it, like there's an underground lab and all this stuff, and look at all this high tech. No, fuck
that's
that.
the umbrella. That's the Umbrella Corporation.
No, I get it. But what was good about Resident Evil was the fact that you were in this haunted house type thing. They were able to effectively blend so many different styles of fear into the video game. The fear of the unknown, and okay, it is zombies, but now it's not just zombies. Now it's also like killer crocodiles and fucking terrible dogs and all this stuff, and it was all done in a haunted house type feel, and that didn't translate well to the film. I didn't feel like I was in a haunted house in the Resident Evil series. I felt like I was in this contrived bullshit world that just did not make any sense.
Oh, I see some. Okay, I was saying. First off. Don't throw any shade or hate towards the Doom movie. Doom knew what it was.
Garbage.
Everyone knew what that movie was. It was not intended to be amazing.
Actually, I'm going to defect here. Doom was pretty good.
It was fun. It was fun. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It did not take itself seriously. It knew exactly what it was because The Rock needs soldiers. I need soldiers. I don't need anybody else but soldiers. Mutinous
my favorite
insurrection
line.
is
My
punishable
favorite.
by death.
My favorite line from his is, Doctor whoever's condition is not reversible because Doctor so and so is dead.
Dr. Carmack's condition is irreversible because Dr. Carmack's condition is that he's dead.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the heads up, asshole.
Yeah.
But that was great. I mean, that was amazing.
Doom was fun because, again, it didn't take itself serious. And with that ending scene with Carl Urban walking down, first-person shooter and whatnot, it was a gimmick, and they knew it. Like, we're just capitalizing on all the people who like to play Doom, which was fine. Fine, perfectly fine. It didn't take itself serious, but I felt like the Mortal Kombat film did take itself serious, and it just failed miserably.
Clive Wells says jail should avoid film reviews. He's not good at it. I'm actually quite good at it, Clive. I actually am.
I'm the best that I ever know. Nobody's better than me.
He obviously said that to get a rise out of you.
Well, of course he did.
He said it to get a rise out of you. So just leave it alone. It'll never heal. You'll get a scar there, JL. If you keep on picking that scab, it'll turn into a scar.
Marcus Dresden. This movie was not intended to be good. Quote JL1.
That's true.
Just like the development of Doom didn't take itself seriously. Nothing about that movie took itself seriously, which is why it was amazing. And how dare you, WebBard, you put that in a sentence?
What did WebBard say?
I know. Absolutely not.
That's not true. He's got posters of. He's got the Blood Rain poster on his wall.
Oh, you're out of your fucking mind.
It just notice how you can't see it. It's just off camera on the right side.
I promise you, there is no picture of a UA Bowl film in my fucking room.
It's huge. It's really big.
No, there's nothing. In the Name of the King. In the Name of the King was the most embarrassing, disastrous, and just worst use of such talent in that fucking movie. There was a phenomenal talent in that film, and they took that movie because it was a big fucking paycheck. That's what it was. It was a giant. It was pretty much his biggest film he's ever made. And you look at the cast that he assembled for that movie: Jason Statham, Kristana Loken, Lily Sobieski, Ray Liotta, John Rhys Davies, fucking Burt Reynolds. What the fuck? I mean, but you think about all the names that he had in that, a massive freaking cast, and it was just an absolute shit fucking film.
Well, UI Bowl was using a loophole in German tax law, where if you get paid for making movies that are failures, and the more you lose on the film, the more the more the tax loophole works for you.
That's a good cover. I think he's just a shit filmmaker.
Well, there is evidence that he can make films that aren't bad. I've heard. I've never seen a UA Bowl film. I consider JL's knowledge of UA Bowl films to be somewhat disturbing, if I'm being honest.
Well, I have to know the good with the bad. I have to know the good with the bad. I can't talk shit about UA Bowl if I haven't watched his fucking movies and sweet fucking supernatural shit I don't believe in. I have sat through all of them.
That's not true at all. I mean, I can talk shit about UI Bowl from dusk till dawn. Don't need to see a single one of his films to do that. People might say, well, you haven't seen any of his films. Yeah, I've never tasted dog shit either. But,
the smell of it is quite sufficient. Thank you very much.
The smell of it is quite sufficient. You don't need to. I've never had my hand crushed by a sledgehammer, but I'm pretty sure that it's not good, right? This whole, well, you can't comment on it until you've done it. Fuck off. There's plenty of stuff that I know that isn't good, isn't fun, and has no redeeming features without exposing myself to it. Like plutonium, for instance. And if it doesn't interest me, then it's I feel no need to indulge sadomasochistic impulses.
It's interesting. Dave N just brought up In Bruges. Yes, don't try to speak French to anyone in Bruges. I did once, and I think I got away with it. I recently rewatched that movie, and it'd been a long time since I'd seen it. But of course, I'm a huge fan. I love Ralph Fiennes, Brendan Fletcher, and Colin Farrell. All of them were magnificent in the movie, and I've forgotten how deep that film was for being the kind of black comedy that it was. Really good film. Brendan Gleeson said thank you. Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
So Brendan Gleeson, Ralph Fiennes, and Colin Farrell, all absolutely amazing in that movie. Just probably one of the greatest films of that year. I highly recommend, if you have not seen In Bruges, check that out. It's really, really good. What was it he said? I'm basically the Ed Wood of movie reviews.
Wow.
I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on your perspective of Ed Wood.
That door swings both ways, my friend.
Does. So somebody I think it was Nerd Angle, brought up Final Fantasy, and that's another one, right? So Final Fantasy Spirits Within, everybody hated that movie. I mean, that
wait, which one? Final Fantasy what?
It was Spirits Within, right?
The Spirits Within, with the Ben Affleck model character that was voiced by Alec Baldwin.
Right. So that film was universally hated, but was it really that bad?
Shockingly, it was not. It wasn't. It actually, if you take it just on the merits of itself, it actually was a pretty good movie.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I feel like there's so much. People are so heavily invested in their video games that making films out of them has got to be an immensely difficult task. So much more so than any other genre. Like, you can do comic book films and get away. You can do a bad comic book film and still recover from that. I mean, take a look at the Hulk, take a look at X-Men, Wolverine, all that stuff. There's some bad ones in there, but they've recovered from it to make really good ones. I don't think what's the last time you've seen a Final Fantasy movie that wasn't direct to video or cartoon or whatever? You know what I mean?
Well, how about this? Nerd Angle says Spirits Within was garbage, and was it garbage because it was a Final Fantasy film?
And that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying here. I think there was so much in there because everybody wanted to see Final Fantasy VII made into a film. And when they heard, they're making a Final Fantasy movie, everybody went to the expectation that they're going to see McCloud, all that stuff, the coolest, and they didn't. It was something totally different that had a Final Fantasy name tacked onto it. That people just it failed. It did right. It failed because of the expectations. Right, people expected to see something they didn't, and the movie is good. It's a good movie. The story is there's not a whole lot of plot holes, in the storyline. It's cohesive.
If they had simply called it The Spirits Within and released it as an anime, as just a CGI, just a standalone, just The Spirits Within,
right?
That would have worked. There was no connection to Final Fantasy within that film.
So I would, this is the thing. Is Final Fantasy The Spirits Within a bad film? I don't think it's a great film, but I think it's actually quite solid. Is Final Fantasy The Spirits Within a Final Fantasy film? No, it isn't. And if you view it as a Final Fantasy film, it's I don't even think that it qualifies on any level. Like, there's absolutely zero connection. I'd spent a lot of time. I've never played a Final Fantasy game, right? But
blasphemy.
It's not blasphemous to have not done something. It would be blasphemous. it would be blasphemous to have done it and then say the Final Fantasy games are crap from beginning to end. That would be blasphemy. Just not having done it. I mean, it's
As long as you're not knocking Final Fantasy, as long as you're not knocking Final Fantasy 3. Come on.
okay. I'm not knocking any Final Fantasy. I'm trying to navigate my way to saying, the Spirits Within just isn't a Final Fantasy film, and they shouldn't have put the Final Fantasy name on it.
Nah.
Well, that leads me to an interesting question. What would qualify a film as a Final Fantasy film?
Well, there is a Final Fantasy film.
That is an excellent question because Nerd Angle states Final Fantasy is a bad series to do it with because the games don't have a concurrent plot typically.
Right.
Each game has its own standalone story, and sometimes even the very environments that you're playing in, it's not even like the same place. Like they change radically from game to game. Typically, you have some of the same monsters or some of the same themes, like or thematic characters and like that. But it wasn't until Final Fantasy VII and the popularity of those characters of Cloud and Sephiroth and Barret and so on and so on, that all of a sudden there was this kind of continuity to it because people wanted to see those characters come back. They wanted arcs on those characters, which is why we got Advent Children.
Right.
And all the other stuff that followed after that, because we wanted more. We wanted more, Sifu kicking ass and, Tifa. God, I can't remember their names. Tifa, Cloud, Barret, Kate Sith, Valentine, Sephiroth.
You could just say the cast of characters.
Pretty much, yeah. But I want to make sure I clear it because I think it's Tifa. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Apparently Jessica says Final Fantasy VII Remake will be free on PS4 on Tuesday for PS Plus. Very cool.
Yeah, I've got that. My kids got it for me for Father's Day. I don't know if I like it so much. It's cool. It's different. I don't know. I come from the generation of actual turn-based RPGs.
Let's see. Yep, Nerd Angle's right. No Mogs, no Chocobos, not even a random Black Mage plushie. This is true.
So if they would have thrown a Chocobo in there, would that have made it good? Would we be cool with that?
Oh, well, there would have been thematic elements that would have...
I'm just teasing. I'm just kidding. All right. You know what? PhD Tony looks like he's falling asleep over there.
It is getting late-ish here. I was about to make some noise about that. I've been accused of saying something stupid. Don't know what it was, but I say a lot of stupid stuff. Get over it.
I think we all do. I think we're all guilty of that.
We're all guilty of saying something that is, well, I don't know about stupid. Stupid is a harsh word. Maybe unpopular. We'll say that. Anyway,
I will take full credit. I have said some really stupid fucking shit.
No, stupid is wrong. Stupid means you have been presented with all the evidence and you choose to ignore it. That doesn't make what you just.
Given the level of shit I've taken for some things I've said, I'm going to consider that it is stupid.
Some of your utterances about quantum mechanics.
Please don't reignite that fire. Please don't.
Uh-oh, Clive Wells has outed me as a nerd.
Apparently, yes. Jessica G thinks I am the sheriff of Nerdingham.
That was a good one, actually. I didn't. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yes, Nerd Angle. Cloud, Aerith, if you want to pronounce Tifa, Barret, Kate Sith, Sid, Vincent, and Yuffie are the party members.
All right.
And it's stupid because we expect a lot from PhD Tony, according to WebBard.
Well, maybe that's true. Anyway, what's going on?
Well, apparently, PhD Tony needs to get his bed rest because he's old as fuck. So, gentlemen, we'll start with Irish Demon. What do you got going on? Hell, you're not here because you're too big to fucking hang out with us. Oh, no. So, we'll start with you. PhD Tony, what do you have coming up?
So, coming up, I am working on the first of my Young Earth creation videos, which will be dedicated to interpreting the Bible as a historical document. And I'm hoping to have that out in the next week or so.
Very nice. Very, very cool. And Johnny, what do you have going on?
Well, here in a little bit, I've got a meeting with some really awesome people. It's probably the highlight of my day outside of the house, by the way. And then I'm going to I think I'm going to be rebranding Unpopular Opinions. YouTube doesn't really like that series, so I take 2 steps forward with some of the good commentary videos that I have about, Pratt and Demon and CC Chris and Karen's and whatnot, and then I put out the Unpopular Opinions, and it doesn't get any kind of traction, so it sets me back. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebrand it, start doing a little more like a news type show where I put the pulse on the community on display. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to do that, see if that kind of helps. There'll still be some unpopular opinions in there, but we're just going to kind of rebrand it a little bit. I've got a few submissions for unpopular opinions that I'll put in throughout the shows. So if you guys have unpopular opinions that you wanted me to feature, just send them my way and I'll still get them in the show. But that's what I got.
Awesome. Very cool. Owlman says, I shall watch Doom the movie again and keep my preconceptions in check long enough to allow its tongue-in-cheek charm to overcome my prejudice. That is the best way to watch that movie. It absolutely
is. Only way to watch that movie.
All right. And, Limey Play says, to PhD Tony, funnily enough, I'm also working on a video to do with some of the Bible verses that show that God, if he existed, is a bastard. That's awesome. I can't wait to check that out. I will say, he says he won't publish that one until after his interview with CC Chris, though, which I think a lot of us are looking forward to. It's going to be hilarious. I currently myself am working on a video series that takes Christianity and looks at it through the lens of the Hassan Bite model authoritarian, or the Hassan Bite authoritarian model. That in essence, Christianity is a cult, and why it is a cult, and the examples as to why it is, and how the Bible backs that up. I think I may do a video as well, kind of following along the lines Lamy played, that the Christian God actually defines itself out of existence. Just if we just look at the Christian God itself, by definition, defines itself out of existence because it violates the laws of logic. That doesn't, dismiss all of deism or like this, but this particular God, this one asshole, I don't think it exists at all. So I think there's actually a logical argument. I may do a video on that. I'm thinking about it because the Bite model one is going to be a 4-part series. So I'm going to handle each individual section of the Bite model with its own video. So I'm coming up on finishing up this first one. So hopefully that I think that people will enjoy those and get a little bit of information about pretty much looking at Christianity from a more objective standpoint. Other than that, I also have Week in Horror, and we have a production meeting this afternoon. Johnny will be there. He's talking about us. It's gonna be really cool. We have some stuff to talk about for Week in Horror, some upcoming changes, and some big things that we have planned. We pretty much are starting. We have to take responsibility for the show itself. The show has grown to a certain point. We need to start, treating it like a show, and so that's what we're planning on doing. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to see the guys and hang out with them. As far as as it goes, Week in Horror every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. I love seeing all you guys out there. That's when we do the live one. And, of course, the audio drops at all of our podcast sites here in a few hours at noon. So after you get out of church, you can listen to us and watch that shit out of your head. That was the intention. Definitely check it out if you get an opportunity. We love seeing new people in the live chat. Love having you guys there. Other than that, I got nothing else. So signing out, boys.
Bye, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Y'all have a great one. We will see you next time.